Welcome to the Viking Age podcast. It's the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. My name is Schad. I am the I write for, I can't remember what I do now. I swear this is a great podcast if you never watched this before. I write for the Viking Age as well as zone coverage and bring me the news as well as the Brookings Register. My co-host to my right is Adam Patrick. He is the managing editor of the Viking Age, and we do this every Monday and Thursday right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. And we're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you rate, comment, like, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word out to all Viking fans. Now, before we get into this game and everything else that happened in a no good, terrible, horrible, awful weekend for the Minnesota Vikings, I want to tell you about my weekend because I was in a good mood coming into this game. I want to set the stage. That's what a good storyteller does. Like maybe there's some people out there who didn't watch the Vikings lay an egg against the Buccaneers in week one. Yeah. So let's set the stage. This is how good I was feeling. Saturday night, Dana J. Dykel Stadium, Brookings, South Dakota. South Dakota State, the top ranked team in the country, taking on number 3 Montana State. And this is what you would call a 5-star banger. There were lead changes. It went back and forth. There was a low-scoring defensive battle. There was a true freshman scoring a touchdown with 1:30 to put him ahead. There's a controversial play at the end where they threw it to the back of the end zone, and it was originally called a touchdown, but then they reversed it. There's a sold-out crowd. It was a blackout. I was in the press conference. You could hear all the SDSU players celebrating as Montana State was like trying not to blow their gasket in the press conference. It was probably one of the best football games I have ever attended, like below the Minneapolis Miracle. And if we're talking college football games, maybe Wisconsin, Minnesota 2003, when Reese Lloyd hit that bomb to get Paul Bunyan's axe. So let's just say I was feeling good about football. I killed it in DFS this week.
Oh, yeah.
Like I won $150 in DFS.
Nice.
That's always a good weekend when you can win some money, right? I was feeling good.
Tyreek Hill?
I had Tyreek Hill.
There you go.
I actually did a Miami Chargers stack.
Ooh, yeah.
And for once, I actually had the right guy because I had Justin Herbert, I had Austin Eckler, and Keenan Allen. And then it would have been better if I had Tua, but I still won.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter. 100-player tournaments, that's the way to go, guys, in case you're wondering. But then we have to talk about the game. And the Buccaneers won 20-17. Adam, I'm just going to let you go first on this because, as you can maybe tell, not feeling great. Not feeling great at all.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal. I don't think anyone expected the Vikings to lose this game. Clearly, the Vikings didn't. I think they were favored by 6 or 6.5 going into the game. So,
yeah,
most people just assume this was a win. Maybe the Vikings assumed too much, and they didn't maybe game plan as much for this game, and maybe did a little bit on the upcoming game, which is the Eagles, which they might view as the tougher opponent between the Bucs and the Eagles. So you're gonna spend more time maybe preparing for them. And it was just a bunch of things, like the turnovers were weird, especially the Ed Ingram strip sack. That was but that dude finds a new way to screw up every game. Yet he still keeps his starting job, so good for him.
Joey Gallo would be proud.
But and then it was a weird game. Kirk Cousins threw for a lot of yards, but he didn't play amazing. Like, they threw a lot. That's why he had a lot of yards. And the running game was non-existent. I think Alexander Madison ran into his blocker like almost every other time
You don't say.
he got the ball. The defense looks better. I will say that. Not that, and we've talked about this before, they didn't have a high bar to clear, but I'm pretty sure they cleared it yesterday. They looked a lot better. than last year. It is a 1-game sample size. It is against the Baker Mayfield led Bucs offense. I'm going to assume that the Eagles offense is going to be a lot better this season than the Bucs offense. I'm going on a limb here, but I feel safe with that bet. So Thursday will be a big test. It's just more of the same, I feel like, with this Vikings team, with the offensive line, with Kirk Cousins, with the play calling. It's just like, when are we going to stop going through this never-ending circle of misery, pretty much, of just like, oh, we're going to do better. We're on track. This is, second year in the system. Everything's going to be better. It's going to be clicking. Kirk Cousins has been looking great in camp, and he's going to be great. Come out firing. We're going to have different plays. We're going to run, more physical. We're going to have more 2 tight end sets and everything, and block more for Kirk Cousins. And we didn't see any of that yesterday. Looked exactly the same as it did last year, except for Dalvin Cook not being there, except for Adam Thielen not being there. So, yeah, hopefully this is just a little hiccup, because they should have won yesterday. Like, they did a lot. They basically handed the Bucs. They were like on a silver platter, like, here is the win. Take it. The Bucs made a 57-yard field goal. They got 3 turnovers. Like, they had that game handed to them. And the Bucs took it, because they just had a lot of chances to take it, and they finally took it. They barely won, but they won. So I'm hoping the Vikings either had like a bland offensive plan in this game, because they didn't want to show too much to the Eagles. I'm hoping that was the case. I'm not so sure if that is the case, but just throw this tape away and move on to Thursday.
I'm looking at this outline that I wrote for the show, and the whole thing, I'm about ready to throw it out the window myself, because I think this is just a good game to just say what I think. And so here goes nothing. I have this cool idea, Adam, and maybe you could follow me. Maybe the NFL can hit me up if they want to do this. But what if we had these games and you could play them, and they would be before the season? They're before the season, and they wouldn't count. They would just be before the season, and you could play your guys, and you could get them extra reps, and then you could like pull them in the first quarter. And then that way, you get some live bullets. You kind of, you're not rusty in game one. Like, that sound, we could call it the preseason, because it would be preseason games. Do you know what that is? Does Kevin O'Connell know what that is? Does anybody know what this is? Because that team looked like the most unprepared thing. And you know what? I will shout out the defense, because the defense did their job yesterday. Like, they were let down by the offense, which looked completely lost. And this is what happens when you have a training camp that was a complete shit show. It was a complete shit show, because you had TJ Hawkinson. Oh, my ear. Whoa, equalizer. Oh, my back hurts. I got a new contract. I'm good to go. And then he's taking tight end screen after tight end screen, because I don't know, CJ Ham's out there. Let's throw the ball to CJ Ham some more. More CJ Ham, because Kirk Cousins apparently only has eyes for CJ Ham. Maybe those are the designed heats from Minnesota targets that Adam Thielen was getting last year, which, by the way, CJ Ham had more targets than Adam Thielen did yesterday. So that's a fun fact for you if you're sitting at the bar or whatever. Like, I just, the running game was absolute dog shit yesterday. And who saw this coming? Who saw this coming? I had said it all year. I had said, hey, getting rid of Dalvin Cook's not a bad idea, because he was inefficient. He ran into the back of his offensive line and everything else. And then this whole obsession with Alexander Mattison. I did not understand it. I don't get it. I know it's only one game. He could go out and have 200 yards against the Eagles on Thursday night for all we know. But we saw this, you mentioned it's the same shit over and over and over again. And I apologize. I'm trying not to swear here. I know some of you listen to this with kids in the car or whatever. And really, when you swear, you limit your audience. But I mean, what the bleep is this? Why is Ty Chandler getting regular season snaps? What has he done outside of one good preseason game. And don't talk to me about the Seattle game because he wasn't that great, okay? It was a preseason game against a bunch of scrubs with Ed Ingram in the starting offensive line, which, speaking of which, Ed Ingram and that, we have all our starters back. This is great. The first time in 10 years. That lasted 3 plays because Garrett Bradbury started holding his back. Then Ed Ingram's causing strip sacks. Kirk Cousins is getting pressured all day long. And, the defense once again died with 1,000 paper cuts. That's basically what happened. They could not get Baker Mayfield and that juggernaut Tampa Bay offense off the field. And I know they held him to 3.5 yards per play, but if they're getting literally 3.5 yards every play they run, they're going to get a first down every time. And that's basically what happened in the second half. Let's run it back. Let's run it back and just kind of break it down one by one because I needed to get that outburst out. What do you think about the offensive line? Like, was this just a bad day or can he get better? Like, everybody's screaming about signing Dalton Risner. If he's good, why is he still out there? It's week 1.
I wrote about him today. I said they have Dalton Risner at home already. His name's Blake Brandel. Because there's really no difference between Dalton Risner and Blake Brandel right now because Risner would have to come in and learn the offense. He's not coming in right away and like plugging and play and getting all the blocking schemes and who he's supposed to block right away. So that's not going to happen. But yeah, like, has he made a Pro Bowl? Has he made an All-Pro team in his career? No. Like, I don't understand what the infatuation is with Dalton Risner. He's just a name out there. I think, sometimes fans get caught up in a name, like it's a familiar name that you've heard of, and you're like, oh, so he should be the guy, like he can be the savior or whatever. It's kind of like, I feel like a lot of people felt this way looking back at when the Vikings got Josh Freeman, like way back in the day. You're like, oh, here we go, we got this guy. He was okay with the Bucks, but maybe he was in a bad situation. He can come in with the Vikings and help them right away, get them back in the playoffs. That was one of the worst things in the world. You look at Donovan McNabb trading for him and like how much of a disaster that was. Like, so like I don't understand the infatuation with Dalton Risner, but whatever. I feel like they do need better offensive line depth. That doesn't mean they need a starter, but they need to figure out something that's better than what they have right now, because Ed Ingram every week is a problem. Whether it be his blocking, stepping on Kirk Cousins, knocking the ball out of his hand. Now you have to count for him knocking the ball out of his hands. And then the fact is, Tampa Bay's defense, like, if there's any good thing about Tampa Bay this year, it's going to be their defense. Because Todd Bowles, defensive coach, they've had a good defense there for a while. Obviously, Vita Vea is on the defensive line there. So we knew he was going to be a problem, and he was. But, the good news is next week the Vikings get to take on the Eagles' defensive line, which is, I've heard they're terrible. No. Yeah, so it doesn't get any easier for the Vikings' offensive line. So I think Kevin O'Connell needs to do a better job to call plays to get Kirk Cousins out of the pocket. He called a bunch of play action yesterday, but a lot of it was just straight up play action, drop back. I think I counted maybe 4 or 5 rollouts, and they were all the same play. It was rollout, toss it to Josh Oliver, rollout, toss it to TJ Hawkinson. Like, do a rollout,
toss it to CJ Ham. Yes.
There was oh man. There was, dude, I don't know if you remember it because you said you didn't rewatch it yet, but there was a play where Kirk Cousins was scrambling, and what he ended up doing was throwing a 1-yard pass to TJ Hawkinson, who was literally 3 feet in front of him.
I actually do. Yeah.
Instead of either one running, which would have gotten more yards, 2 just backing up and just trying to create something. Maybe Jefferson gets open downfield or whatever, and you get the ball to him, or 3 throwing it away. Like, how is that even an option?
We can't mess up that completion
percentage.
I
understand that, but
I know he's not thinking about that during a game. But I mean,
but how is that?
We'll get to Kirk a little bit later.
How is that even an option, or not even an option? But how is that even an option in his head? Like, Why are you throwing a 1-yard pass to someone who's right next to you? What, like, just run the ball. There was just a lot of frustrating stuff yesterday where it was a combination of a lot of things. I'm not putting all this game on Kirk Cousins because he still made some great throws, but he had a Kirk Cousins game. Like yesterday was the if you could put Kirk Cousins' career into an entire game, that was yesterday. He put up over 340 passing yards.
344.
He threw for 2 touchdowns.
Threw for 2 touchdowns.
And when the
now, if I were a moron, I would say Kirk played a good game. But I'm not a moron, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to go off on this because you've kind of led into this. Okay. And here is why. 3 turnovers. Yeah, 3 turnovers. And they all happened in key moments in this game. Kirk fumbled the snap on a bad exchange with Austin Schlottman, and Slotman. It doesn't matter what his name is because he sucks.
No, that
anyway,
was Ingram's fault. That wasn't a bad exchange.
Was that the bear
slapped
paw
that
thing?
Out of his hands. Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Because Slotman.
Don't blame it on
They did
Schlottman.
say Slotman. Sorry,
Slotman.
They said Schlottman apologized to Kirk after the.
He probably felt it was his fault, but everyone blamed that.
Yeah, I mean, in the heat of the battle, maybe he thought lineman slap. Well, lineman did slap it out of his hand. It was just a defensive lineman, but. You have that strip sack at the end of the second quarter when you're driving. Antoine Winfield's right in front of your face. Might as well
6 guys blocking 4.
Awareness. Like, get rid of the ball. Throw it out of bounds. I don't know if he's trying to make a play. I don't know if he's trying to press. I don't know what. And then the interception, which, I mean, KJ Osborne should have caught that. Sure. He got both hands on it. It was ripped out of his hands. There's also a throw behind KJ Osborne into double coverage. And, a lot of people are going to be like, well, you wanted Kirk to throw it in double coverage on 4th and 8, right?
Justin Jefferson.
What do you want here? Yeah, Justin Jefferson with a fucking season on the line. You're going for points. You're driving. Why are you throwing it to KJ Osborne? Why are all these nookie blanky freaking options out there where we're sitting there, we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to throw it to CJ Ham. I'm going to throw it to KJ Osborne. I'm going to throw it to Jordan Addison. Was a wide open option. Maybe not wide open, but he was an option on that play. Don't look towards him because I don't know Jordan. Maybe, I don't even know Jordan Addison's name. Maybe he's too fast on the highway for Kirk Cousins to know what he is. We can guarantee Kirk Cousins' van isn't going 140 on I-94 or wherever it was. Like, I mean,
yeah, that throw by Cousins, like he explained it like he was too aggressive and he was trying to throw it away. So that
because he flashes back every time he gets in a bad one. He's like Dale and Step Brothers. Like he just flashes back to that talent show. Or like in Kirk's case, it's that play against Notre Dame when he was in college and he threw the interception. He's like, oh my God, I threw it. Alec Lewis put out a story in The Athletic. Mm-hmm. And again, I interrupted you, but whatever. I'm that angry today. He put out a story where Kirk was like, he got this math test and he had like a C-, and he was so mad because he didn't look over the material before. He was going to rip it in half. But you know what he did? He freaking framed it like a psycho. Like he's just like, this test, this algebra 101 test is the essence of my being. And like, Kirk's wife is like, dude, you got to calm down. Like, this is not normal. And then they're like, okay, let's take Tuesdays off, which great. I actually like the fact he takes Tuesdays off. If that helps him do his job, I'm all for it. But I mean, it's the same stuff. It's the same thing. There are good things about Kirk. There were times during yesterday's game where I felt he was getting rolling, where he was finding receivers downfield. He was getting into a rhythm. And as soon as he threw that interception, the balls went back in the purse.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, I'm not going to throw downfield because I could get sacked. Something bad could happen. And I'm just going to throw it to my friend, CJ Ham.
But they would have been up 17-3 at that point.
If they scored a touchdown. Yeah. And I mean,
or 17-10. It was 10-10. They would have been up 17-10.
I think what annoys me the most is like fans who like jump on the internet and be like, This wasn't Kirk's fault. This wasn't Kirk's fault. Nobody else, no other fan base does this, where it's like, nothing is Kirk's fault. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. KJ Osborne should have caught it. Why did Justin Jefferson only get 2 targets after halftime? Like, none of this makes sense. And then at the end of the game, it's the same stuff we've seen before. You mentioned it. It's just going in a circle. Kirk sitting on the bench by himself, just brooding like he's going to go home, lock himself in a room and go play Nirvana. But he's not, because he probably thinks rock and roll is the devil's music or something. Like,
he likes Blink-182. But I was just going to say that interception he talked about, like how he threw it away, or he tried to like throw it to the side of KJ Osborne because he didn't want him to get crushed by the safety. But when he did that, he threw it to the guy that was covering KJ Osborne. So, that doesn't make any sense the way he explained. I didn't want him to get crushed by the safety. So you threw to the guy who was covering him? His explanation didn't make it any. He said like he was being too aggressive and everything. Yeah, it's great to be aggressive, but just don't throw it to the other team. And people say that KJ Osborne caught it. I think Tiki Barber did him a disservice, because he was like, he caught that ball. Like, Osborne might have got a fingertip on it or maybe hit him in the chest, but he did not like have a good. It wasn't like the Bills Vikings game when Jefferson ripped it out of that guy's hand with
right.
It wasn't even anything close to that. But Tiki Barber was like, that was caught. That was, so everyone's like, oh, KJ Osborne lost the ball. It's his fault.
What did you think about the commentators
I thought they were
yesterday,
fine.
by the way? Somebody asked me about that, and I'm like, as long as I don't notice them for being bad.
I was going to say that. If you don't notice
or
them,
like notice them being really good, like, oh, like if somebody teaches me something, I think they're really good. If they just kind of there, like, they're fine. If they're like Tony Romo and they talk all the time, every single second of the game.
No, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was too. I didn't think Matt Ryan was too over the top. I didn't think like one talked more than the other. I liked how they used Tiki Barber to talk about like the running game and everything. And they obviously use Matt Ryan to talk about Kirk Cousins and some of the stuff that Baker Mayfield saw. So I thought they were good. I think they both, they got a good chance to make something of that if they wanted to do that. But it wasn't like what Jonathan Vilma, who I cannot stand. In there, Mark Sanchez is give or take. He's got some moments, I guess, sometimes. There's a bunch of people out there that I would rather not listen to. Tony Romo, yeah, you're right. Who's probably going to call the Chiefs and Vikings game in a couple of weeks? So that'll be great. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo.
A 48-3 blowout.
What happened to the Vikings again?
They just don't play well when I'm here, Jim.
Yeah, aren't people tired of this? Like, aren't this is the 6th year of Kirk Cousins? What's different? What is different? What is different? Nothing. It's the same thing every year. We're like, oh, he's going to be better. Oh, he's got a new offense. Oh, he's in the same offense, so he's going to be better. Oh, he's got Justin Jefferson. Oh, he's got Jordan Addison. Oh, he's got more offensive linemen. He's going to be better.
We've taken the DeLorean. We've taken the DeLorean back to 2021. Like, this is the same shit we were at in 2021, where it's like bootlegs for Kirk Cousins and excuse me, code words, right?
Yeah, it's something new every year. Like 2020, it was COVID, and then 2019, it was, I don't know, but like, there's an excuse for every year. It's the same outcome every year. We talk about the same things every year about him not coming up in big game situations, him kind of cowering when he has to go, up against a tougher opponent. Like,
and what's funny is Baker Mayfield was saying before last week's game, he said, and I mean, Baker Mayfield's maybe not the best example to kind of use here, but I mean, he said it. He's like, things happen and you have to overcome it. Like, Baker Mayfield 2 years ago was on top of the world. He was going to get a contract extension. Then a whole bunch of things happened. He couldn't overcome it. Now he's a journeyman quarterback. Like, Kirk Cousins can't overcome anything, it seems like. And I know, 8 fourth quarter comebacks. Well, why did they need to come back? Like, why did they need to come back? I mean, we're still seeing second quarter lulls. They didn't do anything. I mean, they moved the ball a little bit in the second quarter. And I think that's when Jordan Addison's touchdown happened. But
fourth quarter yesterday, 2 3 and outs. Like when the game was on the line, you have 3 and outs. That part of that's on the play calling because the first play they call 5 minutes to go. You're down by 3. Fourth quarter. What's your first play? Oh, tight end screen, obviously. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell didn't have a great game yesterday either. Like, let's just bring that up because
I talked about it being like a bland game plan in the beginning because it just didn't seem like there was any creativity. There was no like kind of trying to throw people off. Like last year, we would see plays where they would fake a reverse and throw it to Jalen Reagor or something like that. We didn't see any of that stuff yesterday. We saw like very little creativity. We didn't see Kirk Cousins rolling out. You know, we saw lots of throws to the tight ends, lots of throws to the fullbacks. And you talked about Ty Chandler being out there. I didn't mind him. Every time he was out on the field, at least as a receiver, I thought he made a way bigger difference than Madison did whenever he got the ball. I would like to see him get involved more than Madison because guess what? Madison is who we thought he was. He's not a number 1 running back.
He's a backup.
We've known this. The Vikings knew this. That's why they gave him $7 million over 2 years. Like that isn't like.
But they drafted Dwayne Pacheco in the 7th round. You're not Isaiah Pacheco. We're in trouble. Yeah.
Also, like, I feel like a lot of people are blaming Kwesi Adofo-Mensah for this loss. He's been trying to fix his team, but like he's also had like either barriers or hurt. He's been trying to trade Kirk Cousins. Like for the last 2 seasons, he's been trying to trade him, and deals haven't worked out for whatever reason, or whether people didn't want to deal with him or somebody in the Vikings didn't want them to deal with Kirk. But like he's been trying to move on and get this team in a different direction, but like something is kind of holding him back, I feel like, and he's taken the blame for it. Has he made all the best decisions? No. Should he have signed Justin Jefferson to an extension before the start of the season? Yes. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that's actually a great transit. Let's close this before we jump into that, because I want to ask you, like, 2022 draft class, like the Kwesi thing. I think there's some merit to it because, and again, this will go in it, like 2022 draft class. Lewis Cine, I didn't even like think about Lewis Cine until I saw him standing on the sideline. I'm like, oh, he is.
Well, he's why they had to call that timeout, right? On the field goal or whatever.
Yeah. He didn't know what he was doing. And Jay Ward, I mean,
that was
draft class, but I mean,
that was such a ticky tack call.
And it's also a high school mistake by Ward.
That's true. But
looking over and, hey, am I good? Well, the ref said I was good. So who knows what? I think Terry McLaurin got called for that.
Yeah.
Or somebody against the Giants last year did.
Well,
and then they just forgot about it and they praised Brian Dable.
Wasn't it their offensive tackle who was lining up like in the backfield basically?
Yeah. They probably did the Opa and whatever dance and whatever. I mean, Andrew Booth Jr., non-existent. Brian Asamoah, he didn't play yesterday. No. Or excuse me, Asamoah. I mean, I don't know. It really doesn't matter.
Naylor had a good tackle
either because he's not playing. But
Jalen Naylor had a good tackle on special teams.
Yeah.
And Caleb Evans, he did pretty good. I'll give him that.
I'm curious as to where this is going because it doesn't seem like there's an ironclad plan in there. And this is a good reason to jump into the Justin Jefferson extension thing because everybody thought it would get done, me included.
Me too.
And on Sunday, nothing had happened. And then Mike Florio comes out and he sounds the alarm basically and says, if Jordan Addison is good, the Vikings could just use Jefferson and trade him for a franchise QB. Like they could get Caleb Williams or Drake May or Quinn Ewers or whoever they wanted if they just trade Justin Jefferson. And there's a couple of flaws with that. First, Addison has to be good. And I thought he had a good game.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed they didn't get him involved as much as I thought they would. Like Adam Thielen's role is basically what I was expecting for Jordan Addison. And he had the long touchdown, but outside of that, pretty quiet debut. They also need a team to suck that already has a quarterback. And like, if you're in this camp, you got to be hoping for the Colts to just be absolutely brutal. And they could be, because Anthony Richardson was their leading rusher, but he might need a quarterback by week 5 if they keep using him like that, because quarterbacks don't make good running backs, as the Chicago Bears. He also mentioned that the Vikings may be reluctant to sign Jefferson because they don't like guaranteeing multiple years of salary. For instance, they don't want to guarantee 25 salary in March of 2024. And he suggested this would be the holdup. This sucks.
Yeah. What?
I know I've had a lot of elementary takes today, but this sucks.
Why?
Like, honestly, we're sitting here, we're trying to dive into Justin Jefferson's brain, which, you know what? Being in Justin Jefferson's brain would be pretty cool, because I'm sure they got some cool couches and like some big TVs and like some cool music blaring. Because he's got Madden. You could play some Fortnite. You know, he's like in his own brain. Like, y'all want a gritty? I'll show you how to gritty. Like, I can do it. What about Justin Jefferson isn't cool? But I mean, it's the fact that we're nitpicking about signing Justin Jefferson. Like, I don't know about guaranteeing this second year salary. I don't know. Yeah. It's like, this dude is the face of your franchise. There is that one, everybody's like, oh, Kirk's stats. Look at Kirk's stats. You know who had half of his stats in the first half? Justin bleeping Jefferson. Yeah. And here's the thing, like, oh, well, we're going to wait and we're going to see. That money is only going up. Yep. Like, the flexibility and the numbers and everything else. Like, what are you doing with that cap space? You're going to go sign another guy who's like, you can sign Marcus Davenport and put 50 void years at the end of the deal just because we can smooth out the cap and we can pay for him over time. Like, you're going to turn Marcus Davenport into Bobby fucking Bonilla. Like,
I think they did add a void year to Hawkinson's deal. I think I just saw that too. So that's funny that you said that. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. The rumor is that Jefferson wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback, and after Nick Bosa just got his huge deal, whatever, so he wants more than him. Okay, fine. Give it to him. Like, why? What's the holdup? He doesn't get injured. He's the best receiver in the league already in his fourth. Now he's probably gonna get injured this year because he didn't get a contract. He's gonna mess up his whole career.
He's gonna get ear infection is what's gonna happen.
He's already the best receiver in his 4th year, just starting his 4th year. Like, what? Why? Yeah, why are we cutting corners? What? I really don't believe he's asking for $200 million fully guaranteed. I don't think he's doing that. He also doesn't seem like the guy who wants this to be like continuing on. Like, every time he was asked about it in the offseason, he was like, yeah, whatever, I'm here, I'm playing. I don't, that thing will work itself out. I don't care. He didn't have an ear infection. His back didn't flare up. He was practicing every day. He over Hawkinson should have been the guy who was like, oh, my back hurts or whatever. So like, it's just, and then I saw a rumor where not Cousins, but Jefferson didn't want to sign because he wanted to make sure that, Cousins was going to be around for the next few years. And I'm like, no, that's definitely not why he didn't agree to an extension. I understand he wants to know what their plan is at the quarterback, because he wants to, he doesn't want to just suck he doesn't want to be Larry Fitzgerald for his whole career. But like, this was a bad. I'll put a notch on Kwesi's record for this. This was not good. Like, this deal needed to get done. He is going to get more expensive, although the cap is also going to go up, so that's going to even things out a little bit. But still, like, you should have got a deal done now. I don't understand. What are the Vikings? Are they hurting for money? Like, that seems like a legit question to ask if you're not willing, because Jefferson's probably going to want fully guaranteed. So that means you got to give him the money immediately. Do the Vikings not have that money to give to him? Did they invest too much in their soccer team or whatever ownership things they have right now? Like, I think they're fine off, but you never know, I guess. But I don't know,
I think
man.
ultimately, I think the deal gets done in some way,
It
some
has
shape,
to.
some form. And I mean, people have also brought up like most receivers don't sign a new contract after the third
He's not
season.
most receivers.
And that's what he said. He said, I'm different. And everybody you ask would totally
Right.
agree.
It reminds me of the Lamar Jackson thing, where like the Ravens were like,
Sure.
we don't really want to, but I mean, we want to, but not right now. Like, let's wait. Then Lamar Jackson was like, oh, I'm a little hurt, so I'm not going to play in the playoffs. Like, I don't want that to happen. I don't want Justin Jefferson to be like, oh, well, I'm a little sore. I don't know if I can make him. He's the kind of guy, though. I don't think he would do that, but like, I don't want him to feel like he's backed into a corner where like he feels like that's the only way he's going to be able to get a new deal from the Vikings.
Like, I think what frustrates me is like general managers have kind of like put the business side of football ahead of like football, right? You're seeing it in Indianapolis. They're playing hardball with Jonathan Taylor. The Colts are a better team with Jonathan Taylor than they are without him. Like, I'm just going to say that right now.
Better?
I know. Well, I mean, you think Anthony Richardson? Who was the Colts starting running back yesterday?
Oh, that is a great trivia question.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
You don't know, do you? I don't know.
Was it Marshall Faulk?
Like, it sure as hell wasn't Marshall. It was like the Lay's commercial, right? He's like, "Oh, I could play," and he shows up. What's funny is like I see the Randy Moss Lay's commercial, and I know there's a lot of Viking fans who'd be like jacked if he came on the field, like, "Oh, it's Randy Moss," and then he pulls a hip or something.
Out of all those guys, I think it was Evan Smith, Marino, Rice, and Randy Moss. I think Randy Moss is the youngest, but out of all those guys, he would probably have the best chance to come back and play. Wasn't like Terrell Owens trying to come back like last year? I don't know. It's like he's like 45. I don't know.
He's got to be up to like close to 50.
Yeah, they're getting up there.
But yeah, I mean, it's the business side of football, and I mean,
I feel
this is how new GMs operate.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like sometimes you think about Kevin O'Connell on the field, like he might get into his head sometimes and he outsmarts like himself out on the field when it comes to play calls. Sometimes I feel like, Kwesi might be getting in his head or outsmarting himself when he's trying to make these deals. Like everything doesn't have to be perfect, man. Like just get a deal done. Like you're not going to be screwed because he's going to produce. So I don't understand why this didn't happen. I know what Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport or whoever said, like basically they're going to put this off until 2024 or like the plan is. They didn't say like Jefferson says nothing about like, not getting a deal done before the end of the season. So like I wouldn't throw that out of the question of like him agreeing to something. But I think both sides are probably just like let's cool it and figure things out in 2024. It's frustrating because he's the best player on the team. Yeah. What are you doing?
Yes. This is not, I mean, play hardball with Kirk Cousins all you want.
You just extended Josh Metellus, as the announcers called him yesterday.
Oh, my. Yeah. Can finish a play, please? Can we finish a play? Yeah. Like, he was everywhere. I'll give him credit for that. He was in position. He just
not against Mike Evans.
Didn't make a play.
Yeah. No, overall, he played pretty good yesterday. But, yeah, that Mike Evans.
How many void years are on Josh Metellus' deal? Do we know? We'll finally be done paying for it in 2047. Like the next GM will clean it up.
And you got to pay for Darisaw. Really, that's pretty much it, though.
Yeah, those are, I mean.
You got Hawkinson done now. You got Darisaw and Jefferson. Like, I don't know anyone on defense. You really got to re-sign. Like Harrison Smith, he can do whatever he wants. They got Byron Murphy for another year or two. Like what?
I mean, it's just going to be a distraction until it's done. Yeah. Everybody's going to look at his body language. Everybody's going to overanalyze his quotes. They're going to look for the truth to all rumors moments. And until he puts pen to paper, unfortunately, it's not going away.
Yeah.
So it gets back to my initial statement. This sucks. You know what else sucks? Going to Philadelphia on Thursday night.
Only on Thursdays?
Going to Philadelphia in general probably sucks. But
unless you're going for WrestleMania.
What's
unless
that?
You're going for WrestleMania.
Yeah. Go watch Cody Rhodes win the Universal title. But the Eagles beat the Patriots 25-20 on Sunday.
Yep.
It was Tom Brady appreciation. They announced that he'll go into the Ring of Honor next August.
Yeah, why don't you just do it then?
Just space. They're doing like the Twins are doing this with Joe Mauer, basically, where it's like they're like he retired and then they retired his number immediately, and then they just put him in the Twins Hall of Fame this year, and then he's eligible to go into the Baseball Hall of Fame the following year. So you get like 3 days and 3 gates.
Is he a Hall of
People
Famer?
will come out to see Joe Mauer's Hall.
You think so?
I think nobody look at him as a catcher. Like first baseman, Joe Mauer was average, but like Joe Mauer as a catcher, Gold Glove defense. He had 3 batting titles. No American League catcher had ever won one before he did it. Like in my mind, he is, and a lot of people crap. I mean, it's kind of the Kirk Cousins thing where he got all the money and then like he couldn't hit for power because they moved out of the Metrodome and like his body just basically gave out because he's a catcher and he plays behind the plate every day. And you try crouching for 3 hours for like 9 straight years and see if you can still walk. Lots of things going on. We should probably get back to the Vikings though. Get your worship music ready, folks. Right. Get your worship, or I think Mortal Kombat comes out this weekend. So maybe a Sub-Zero spine rip will be in order after this game. How can the Vikings pull the upset off?
They got to start fast. They really do. Like they got to come out firing, whether it's on defense or offense. They have to create turnovers. They didn't create any turnovers yesterday. Like we talked about their aggressive defense and how, they looked improved. Baker Mayfield, like he's a turnover machine, and you didn't force him to commit anything. So they got to figure out how to do that. The Eagles are going to score points, so you're just going to have to figure out a way to keep up with them. Jalen Hurts is going to run all the way over everywhere. I think the best way to beat them is probably just to keep the ball out of their hands, which means you have to be efficient running the ball. You have to throw passes that are further than 1 yard. You cannot throw tight end screens because those always result in negative 5 yards.
What about CJ Ham wheel routes?
Right.
That's the big unveil. It's the first play of the game is going to be a CJ Ham wheel route.
But I would not be surprised if Kevin O'Connell has had this game circled and he's been preparing for this game like the last couple weeks and just overlooked the Bucs and was like, the Bucs will be our practice game before we play the Eagles. Because I think he was just embarrassed last year. What was it, 24-7 in that week 2 Monday night game where Irv Smith was Irv Smith.
Is that the Irv Smith game?
Yep, where he dropped it.
The other thing I remember from that game last year is like them doing the I don't even know what it's called anymore, like the sky cam.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked in the huddle and Kirk's eyes were like the size of silver dollars. He's like, all right, guys, here we go. Yeah, like doesn't know the playbook, just like,
yeah, it was bad. But yeah, it's gonna be a rowdy atmosphere. So you gotta take the crowd out just like you do at US Bank Stadium. It's just like they have to get off to a quick start. If they don't, then they're done. Then it's a loss, and you get ready to play the Chargers. So like it doesn't. It's the point of all this is it's not going to get any easier. So like just step up your play, and if you beat the Eagles, it's huge. It's a big win. The Vikings starting 0-2. I think since 2000 they've done it like 9 times. They made the playoffs once. They started 1-1 8 times since
Was it 2012?
2008.
2008.
Childress and Tavares Jackson. And then they started off 1-1 8 times since 2000, and they've made the playoffs 6 times, including last year. So 1-1 and 0-2. Like it doesn't seem a lot. It's the second game of the year. It's a big difference. So Thursday, week 2, it's a must win.
Well, Al Michaels be asleep by the third quarter.
Oh man, I forgot he's doing it.
This is a banger, guys.
48. Is Herb Street still doing the
I think so too. Yeah.
Did you see the Vikings are getting a Manning cast this year?
Yeah,
the
I
Niners?
did. Yeah.
Should be fun.
Should get if they don't get Randy Moss for that game,
Right.
I'm gonna be
The
disappointed.
Niners, who haven't won in Minnesota since 1992. So it's been a while.
It's gonna be awkward when they cut to Kyle Shanahan like on the sideline going like,
born in Minneapolis, by the way.
"What are you doing, coach? What are you, Kirky? Come home, Kirky. Huh? Oh,
I think
hey, Brock.
someone posted what? Oh, my wife just texted me. But okay.
Somebody posted.
No. A graphic of the play callers, the podcast with Sean McVay and all them, and I think they all had their teams all had over 30 points yesterday. And someone was like, "What if these guys know that no one else does?" And I'm just like, they adapt to their players and don't force them to do stuff they're not good at. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem hard.
It's very simple, isn't it? Like, hey, Matthew Stafford can't run. We better not call his zone read here.
Brock Purdy's not chucking 60-yard bombs down the field. Let's not do that.
Let's just do the old catch and run. That might be an idea.
One list.
My prediction's 38-7.
Vikings?
No. Why would I say 38-7 Vikings?
Why not?
Why? Just flip the script. It means the same.
It's week 2. No one knows. We thought week 1 was an easy game. It was gonna be a blowout. Who knows? The Eagles, they were up 16-0 on Sunday. We were like, oh, here we go again. They're gonna run away. They almost lost.
And then New England kind of made things interesting.
Who knows?
And
Bradbury's not playing on Thursday. James Bradbury, he got a concussion, and he's not playing on Thursday. That's huge for Jefferson and Addison and maybe Osborne if he can catch. But
who's covering CJ Ham?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna drop this. I guarantee I'm gonna put CJ Ham in my DFS lineup.
He's a captain
on Thursday just because he's and I'm sure he's a very nice human. He's from Minnesota and whatever. I want to touch on 2 more things around the league before did you have a prediction for Thursday?
Yeah.
Because what we'll do is we will go live on Friday and hopefully I will have less F-bombs. I apologize for that again. Sometimes you got to get those out, right? Yeah. They just kind of boil in. Like if I was on like normal radio or like doing like a newspaper hit, I wouldn't say those. But I mean, doing this, it's just like, I'm going to let it fly, man. Let the F flag fly.
38-7 Vikings. There we go. That's my prediction.
So we'll both go 38-7. I'll go Eagles. You go Vikings. One thing I wanted to say, do you accept Jordan Love as your new football overlord? Because that wasn't fun.
Play someone.
3 touchdowns, 240 yards, I believe. He was playing the Bears. Yeah. So
what did he throw? 50% yesterday? It wasn't that great.
Oh, let's see.
I think he had like 14 completions.
I'll look it up.
It wasn't that like.
I am not ready to bury him.
A couple of them were like the Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones ran for like 50 yards the other way.
And Aaron Jones promptly blew a hamstring.
Yeah, he did.
Like on the 50-yarder, all of a sudden you could see the tire blow as he was like going into the end zone. Just kind of like, oh, I'm done. He completed 55% of his passes yesterday, 9.1 yards per attempt. Let's see what we got here. 15 of 27, 3 touchdowns, 245 yards, no picks because it's the Bears. Yeah, that was, I don't know. Good for him, I guess. Like,
yeah, how about
honestly,
Bears?
A performance like that, if he sucks from here on out, he'll be a backup for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Like people will be like, oh yeah, that Bears game.
And I never thought the Packers were going to be terrible. I knew they had a good defense. That pick 6 was ridiculous. Was it Quay Walker who looked like a running back out there when he got that? Yeah, I don't know. That's one of the teams I don't really know what to make up of because of who they played. Because the Bears just look like they're
The
not going to
Bears.
be good. Yeah, like
Yeah. Justin
what?
Fields isn't good. Imagine that.
Yeah, uh, yeah. That's not good. And then the Lions. Like
Yeah.
I don't think they're good either.
The Chiefs didn't.
The Chiefs like the Chiefs did exactly what the Vikings did yesterday. They handed them the
Here's
game.
another thing I want to kind of point out about the Lions though too. When it was 4th and inches in their own territory, they just said screw it and went for it. And of
Well,
course you're going to
yeah,
be second guessed, but Kevin O'Connell punted it and
4th and
the
1.
Bucks
Yeah,
scored a touchdown. I think
yeah,
I think the Bucks went for it on 4th down
they did.
a couple of times on that final drive.
On their final drive, yep, they did.
Yeah,
Todd Bowles, but that was
went for the win.
They ran like their own 30, and they're only up by 3. So that was a gutsy call, but also Todd Bowles, what does he have to lose? He's probably getting fired at the end of the year too.
He has the most substitute teacher energy I have ever seen.
Like you remember, I think the creation of Riverboat Ron, like Ron Rivera was like back in the day when like he was probably like on the hot seat.
Yeah,
and so
he was gonna
just
get
like,
canned.
Fuck it, let's just go for it.
4th and 18, fake punt, whatever.
Yeah, so like that's a thing. Like the Bucks might make the playoffs this year because Bowles is going to be like, who cares? I'm getting fired anyways. So.
How about Adam Thielen's debut?
Oh wow, what a he was on the field for 68 snaps. He had 2 targets. So he had so many.
CJ Ham had 3.
He had
I'm telling you.
He had so many opportunities yesterday. He's so happy that he left so he could just have more of a chance to prove himself that he can still play in this league.
He's very excited. I can tell you that right now.
He
he's
thinks they can win the
excited.
Super Bowl.
They're excited. Everybody is excited in Carolina. We'll see just how excited they are in week 4?
Hey, that might be the Vikings' first win. Maybe.
I don't know. I was telling you last night, I'm going to be going to that Chargers game, and I'm like, that could be like the season right there. Like if they lose, it's tank for Caleb time. But
yeah,
I don't know.
That's maybe that's why they didn't sign Justin Jefferson, because they're like, if we suck this year, like maybe they will be like, we could trade him and get a lot for him.
Just go full rebuild. I don't think the Wolves would go for that though. I mean, they just seem like
I know they wouldn't go for that, but like that's the problem. Like they keep getting in they like everyone else in the organization keeps getting in their own way. Like what do you want to keep going around this circle, or do you want to win? Like what do you like?
What's the goal?
Do? You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again, just hoping for something different to happen, because it's not going to happen. Like the Vikings have OCD. They have to do the same thing every single season. They have to win you a game that you don't think they're going to win. They have to lose a game that you think they're going to win. Like, I don't know.
And as we go over and over and over and over and over again, it's very much it's a great movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Love that movie. It's Groundhog's Day again in Minnesota. But that's all the time we have for today. That was a bad segue, but whatever. This has been the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. We do this every Monday and Thursday right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. But since they're playing on Thursday, we are going to go live on Friday at noon Central Time. So if you want to hear us yell and scream, or maybe like yell and scream in excitement because the Vikings pulled off a shocking win over the Eagles. Yeah, the 38-7 win over the Eagles. That'd be fun. They just go for it. Like game's out of reach. It's 35-7. We're going to kick a 50-yarder just to make you remember us.
It's important.
Whenever we go on the air, the following day, it's on Apple and Spotify. Make sure you consume us, like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode, and we can spread the word to the masses. For Adam Patrick, I am Chris Schad, and we'll talk to you next time on the Viking Age podcast.